Hi everyone. Today we are going to deal with MPC 001, Cognitive Psychology, Learning and Memory, Unit 4, Models of Information Processing. So in this unit, the first concept is the Vaughan and Norman's model of primary and secondary memory. It is given in page number 45 in your module. Okay, so in this Vaughan and Norman's model of primary and secondary memory, according to them, there are two types of memory: primary memory and secondary memory. So, primary memory is otherwise called a short-term storage system, while secondary memory is called a long-term storage system. And in this short-term storage system, it has very, as the name implies, it is short-term. So, it has very limited capacity. So, loss of information is occur from this short-term storage capacity or from this primary memory. So, according to them, this loss of memory, that is forgetting, takes place mainly because the new ideas will be replaced by this old ideas or old memory. New concepts will be replaced by old memory. Thus, this forgetting takes place in primary memory. So, first information reaches the primary memory. From there, sometimes loss of information takes place because of replacement of new one with the old one. And time is also a factor in this. As loss of time, some of the information may be lost from this primary memory. From this primary memory, the information reaches the secondary memory or the long-term storage system. Then another factor for loss of memory in from this primary memory is interference. It is given in page number 46. Interference seems to be a greater factor than decay in forgetting in primary memory. Interference means interfering with new learning, interference of new learning with older learning. So, or new information with older information. So, interference seems to be a greater factor. So, interference, this replacement or displacement, and time is all these are factors affecting loss of memory or loss of information from this short-term memory or from this primary memory. And this another important factor in this is primary memory holds verbal information and it is available for recall. So, mainly information is stored as verbal information, while in short-term, long-term memory or then secondary memory, information is given as concepts, images, etc., etc. So, that's about Vaughan and Norman model of primary and secondary memory. Now, the second model is Atkinson and Shiffrin's stage model. This is a stage theory model. It is also known as stage theory model, and the picture is given in page number 46. There are three stages. They are sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. Okay, so the memory starts with the sensory input from this environment, and the sensory or the information from the environment first reaches the sensory memory. And the information, it is also known as sensory register because the information is stored in this sensory memory or sensory register for very short time. It occurs as little as half second for visual stimuli and about 4 to 5 seconds for auditory stimuli. So, information, verbal stimuli are stored half second and 4 to 5 second auditory stimuli are stored in the sensory register or the sensory memory. Okay. From this sensory memory, the information reaches the next level, that is the next stage, that is the short-term memory. So, if the information from sensory memory, if the information wants to reach the short-term memory, then we have to pay attention to this information that is in the sensory, in the sensory register. Only attended informations are transferred from sensory memory to short-term memory. In this short-term memory is otherwise, according to this Atkinson and Shiffrin, short-term memory is otherwise called the working memory. And in this working memory, the information is stored about 20 to 30 seconds, and generally 5 to 7 items are stored in this short-term memory at a time. Okay, so it is this 5 to 7 items, 5 to 9 items, sorry, 5 to 9 items, and average 7 items will be stored, and the 7 items we know it as the Millet's magic number. Okay, so information in the working memory is stored in 20 to 30 seconds. Then rehearsal takes place in short-term memory. If the information is to be retained for more than this one, rehearsal is to be has to be taken place, and only rehearsed item will be moved from short-term memory to the long-term memory. And long-term memory stores information. As earlier we said, long-term memory stores information in the form of images, concepts, and ideas. Okay, so information that is rehearsed may be then passed along to the long-term memory, that is the LTM storage. So thus we have 3 stages. The information will move from one stage to the second stage and to the third stage. That is from sensory memory to the short-term memory and then to the long-term memory. Therefore, there are 3 stages. That is why this theory is also known as stage theory. And the first stage is the sensory memory, and from there attended information will be reaching to the short-term memory or the working memory, and rehearsed items from short-term memory reaches the long-term memory. So there are other types of memory, episodic and semantic memory. So what is episodic memory means? Episodic memory stores information, personal information and specific events are stored in episodic memory. So only personal information and that is why it is called episodes. Personal information and specific events are stored in episodic memory. While in semantic memory, it deals with general and abstract information. So general and abstract information are stored as semantic memory, while personal informations are stored as episodic memory. And now this episodic and semantic memory combine together to form, it is called declarative memory. So declarative memory is a combination of episodic and semantic memory. One more memory is called procedural memory. So procedural memory, it is part of the long-term memory, and it is responsible for knowing how to do things. So the procedure of doing things are stored in procedural memory, like how to walk, how to play piano, how to do skating, all this. See, how to do things, that is stored in procedural memory. Thus, there are 3 types of memory: episodic memory, semantic memory, and procedural memory. Episodic and semantic memory together, it is called declarative memory. Thus, in vogue and normal model of we have seen there are 2 types of memory: primary and secondary memory. While in Atkinson and Shiffrin's stage theory, there are sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. Other memories are episodic, semantic, declarative, and procedural memory. Next is level of recall by Sinchenko. Okay, so according to Sinchenko, level of recall, LOR, level of recall depends upon the or determined by the goal of the action. So in the first paragraph, it is said that the memorability of words was influenced by the goal of the subject at the time the material was presented. So whenever the material presented, the goal of the subject or the aim of the subject depends upon the memorability of that particular word. This is the level of recall by Sinchenko. It is repeatedly given, the examples are given, and in the third paragraph, it is said that in the condition in which subjects are formed a logical connection between the first word and another word, recall of the target word occurred with greater frequency than other conditions. So recalling of a particular word depends upon the memorability of the word, and it is a frequency of that particular word. So level of recall by Sinjango, it is determined by the goal of the particular subject at the time when the material was presented. This is level of recall by Sinjango. Next, one more concept, level of processing by Craig and Lockhart. There are 8 points in it. It is a level of processing, how the information is processed at different levels. This is given by Craig and Lockhart. Okay, so the first point is that the data in this levels of processing, data are stored in the memory based on levels of processing, not on these different stages. It is based on data are processed on the basis of levels of processing. And the second point is that the incoming stimuli are subjected to a series of analysis. So that is the second point. And the third one is it starts with shallow and proceeds to deeper and complex analysis. So there are shallow processing, deeper processing and complex processing. So first it starts with shallow and then proceeds to the deeper and then reaches the complex analysis. So in this fourth point is whether the stimulus is processed. It is given in the second paragraph. Whether the stimulus is processed at a shallow or deeper stage depends upon the nature of the stimulus and the time available for processing. So time is an important factor for the type of the level of processing. If it is given the type and the importance, nature of the stimulus, whether the stimuli will be given shallow or deeper processing. Then fifth one, an item processed at a deeper level is less likely to be forgotten than one processed at a shallow level. So memorability of the word depends upon the type of level of processing. If it is deeper processing, if it occurs in deeper processing, then it will be remembered than those words which are processed at a shallow level. Then sixth one, at the earliest level, incoming stimuli are subjected to sensory and featural analysis, and at a deeper level, item may be recognized by means of pattern recognition, and in still deeper level, it may engage the subject's long-term association. This is the different levels of processing. First, sensory and featural, shallow analysis, sensory and featural analysis. Then deeper level by means of pattern recognition, and in complex, long-term association with the subject. Then seventh point is that with deeper processing, a greater degree of semantic or cognitive analysis is undertaken. That is the seventh point. And the eighth point given in the fourth paragraph, with highly familiar, meaningful stimuli are more likely to be processed at a deeper level than less meaningful stimuli. So these are the 8 points given in Craig, levels of processing by Craig and Lockhart. First one, the data are stored in the memory based on the level of processing. Incoming stimuli are subjected to a series of analysis, and it starts with shallow and proceeds to the deeper complex analysis. Fourth one, the stimulus is processed at a shallow deep state depends upon the nature of the stimulus and the time available for stimulus. Then fifth one, an item processed at a deep level is less likely to be forgotten than one processed at a shallow level. Then sixth one, at the earliest level, incoming stimuli are subjected first to sensory and featural analysis, then to the pattern recognition, and then to long-term association with the subject. Then seventh one, with deeper processing, greater degree of semantic and cognitive analysis is undertaken. And eighth one, meaningful stimuli are more likely to be processed at a deeper level than less meaningful stimuli. Now, and the next concept is, next is the difference between information processing and levels of processing given in page number 50. This is the last concept in this module. Okay, according to the examination point of view. Okay, then what are the differences between information processing and levels of processing? First one, importance is given to, in information processing, importance is given to structural components, while in levels of processing, importance is given to levels of processing, that whether it is shallow, deeper or complex. Then information processing stresses the sequence of stages through which information is moved or processed. That is, whether it is sensory, short-term memory, long-term memory, like that. Okay. Then memory traces are being processed in levels of processing. The third difference between information processing and levels of processing is that through rehearsal, information is transferred from short-term memory to long-term memory, while in levels of processing, rehearsal is for maintaining information at one level or elaborating information by processing to a deeper level. So these are the differences between information processing and levels of processing. First one, in information processing, information is given to structural components, while in levels of processing, information importance is given to the different levels of processing. Then second, the stresses the sequence of stages through which information is moved or processed. Then memory, in levels of processing, memory traces are being processed. Then in the third difference is that in information processing, rehearsal, through rehearsal, information is being transferred from short-term memory to long-term memory, while in levels of processing, rehearsal is for maintaining information at one level or elaborating the information by processing to a deeper level. So that's about this levels of processing by Craig and Lockhart. So that's all mainly in this unit 4. Thank you.